Role-playing game fans have had it pretty good over the years, and among the many flourishing subgenres, action RPGs have consistently offered some of the best experiences. Even with the many titles integrating RPG mechanics into their makeup, be it through loot chases or stats, there are plenty of standouts. Check out our picks for 30 best action RPGs of all time. Starting with 30. Banishers: Ghosts of New Eden. Dontnod took its second crack at the action RPG genre with Banishers: Ghosts of New Eden in 2024, and those who have played it will tell you it was a far more successful one than the first. Unlike the rough-around-the-edges vampire, Banishers turned out to be a sizable, engaging game with plenty of depth. Narrative was a big focus of Banishers: Ghosts of New Eden, and players will have to make difficult choices throughout the game's story. There are even 5 different endings for players to unlock, promoting replayability. 29. Ys 9: Monstrum Nox. While Ys 9 Nordics left some mixed impressions, Ys 9 Monstrum Nox still holds up incredibly well. The vastness of the Baltic, the freedom of movement, the responsive and satisfying combat, the excellent narrative and cast, all of it comes together in an enjoyable package that's paced well and doesn't overstay its welcome. 28. Hyper Light Drifter. More old-school Zelda-esque than other entries, this journey through the remnants of a ruined civilization while attempting to resolve the Drifter's sickness is full of mystery and danger. Traverse through 4 regions of the Land of Light, unravel their secrets, collect modules to upgrade and unlock abilities, and try not to die. It's straightforward, yet Heart Machine's debut is full of ingenious puzzles and fun combat. 27. Kingdom Hearts 3. The third, but certainly not last title in the series, the conclusion of the Darkseeker saga, the ultimate battle after battle against Xehanort, no, not that one, the other one, sprinkle in some Disney properties including Toy Story, Big Hero 6, Hercules, and Monsters Inc. to go with the return of summons and the addition of attraction flows. The narrative may feel bogged down at times, but it's certainly an epic finale for the series. 26. Enshrouded. Keen Games' addition to the survival crafting genre is a curious one. Building and resource gathering is important, sure, but so is venturing out into the shrouded roots, exploring massive ruins and hollow halls, and cultivating an arsenal. The nature of customization means more freeform build crafting, and while the combat could use a bit more nuance, it can feel responsive and satisfying. 25. Grim Dawn. Confidently establishing your title as one of the better action RPG looters amid the never-ending war between Diablo 4 and Path of Exile fans is no small feat. The Mastery system offers extensive build crafting and customization, while the combat, though slower paced, is meaty and satisfying. Coupled with a refreshing sense of freedom and a unique grimdark setting, there's plenty to love. 24. Jade Empire. Before Knights of the Old Republic or Mass Effect, BioWare delivered a different kind of action RPG experience with Jade Empire. The setting mixed mythology and Chinese history into a story of morality, as players could opt for open palm or closed fist, unlocking different abilities in the process. Though not a massive experience or extensively complex, Jade Empire is still enjoyable, offering an excellent narrative and world to discover. 23. Path of Exile 2. Grinding Gear Games' sequel to its acclaimed free-to-play RPG is currently in early access and not quite there in terms of everything fans want. No denying everything feels good though, whether it's the classes, the sheer fluidity of the combat, the multitudes of skills, which are easier than ever to experiment with, or the insane variety of boss fights. Whenever it exits early access, it could very well set a new benchmark for the genre. Right now, however, it's an action RPG looter that's worth investing in. 22. Hogwarts Legacy. As typical as Avalanche Software's open world can be at times, there's no denying the sheer spectacle or how responsive the combat feels. Flicking spells left and right, and instant death here, and incendio there is a blast, sometimes literally, and exploring the region unearths various threats and optional activities like the Dark Wizard arenas. If you want to pursue quests, there's plenty of that too, with some surprisingly fun characters to interact with. 21. Neo 2 Complete Edition. What happens when you combine Souls-like mechanics with Team Ninja's fast-paced combat fundamentals and penchant for gore? You get a massacre action RPG with devious enemies and bosses, along with more loot than you'll know what to do with. For everything that fans loved about the first game, Nioh 2 builds on it further with burst counters, yokai skills, new weapon types and abilities, and even more brutal bosses. 20. Fable 2. If the original didn't quite meet the lofty expectations, then the sequel is an attempt to make good. And make good it does, with an indelible amount of freedom, a reactive world that responds to your decisions and impacts you right down to your appearance, and jobs over quests, some with more combat and others with less. Some players may not vibe with the ending, but if it's all about the journey, then Fable 2 is one worth embarking on. Not to be confused with Fable The Journey, which most definitely is not. 19. Deus Ex Human Revolution. As a prequel to the original Deus Ex games, Human Revolution mixes action RPG and immersive sim elements to deliver on the series' trademark conspiracy-laced narrative. Though it takes a bit to get rolling, it offers so many different ways to tackle objectives and quests, from stealth and straightforward combat to hacking. The nature of the world with its sheer amount of discoveries and intriguing characters almost makes it that much more enjoyable to dive into. 18. Last Epoch. The other big ARPG looter, and it's only really above Path of Exile 2 because of the latter's early access nature. Between Diablo 4's almost insulting simplicity and the OG Path of Exile's complexity, 11th Hour Games' effort strikes a good balance. The upgrades and classes feel distinct, offering a wide degree of options. Combat is fun, and the crafting system is unlike anything else out there. While the story isn't much to write home about and the endgame needs something more, you're guaranteed dozens of hours of loot grinding fun. 17. Dragon's Dogma 2. Dragon's Dogma 2 occupies this interesting niche where it's both easy to explain and tricky to properly distill. Dragon's Dogma 2, set in a world that's seemingly always out to get you, yet brimming with discoveries, fun emergent gameplay, or just a random useful pawn. Vocations offer multiple options during the satisfying combat, and the overall structure is one that simultaneously embraces, yet rejects open-world tropes. It's bizarre, and sometimes tedious, yet involving and enjoyable all the same. 16. Assassin's Creed Origins. How ironic is it that the franchise's first foray into the action RPGs also happens to be its best? If it's not Bayek being an incredible protagonist, it's the setting of Egypt offering unique regions and multitudes of quests. Combat isn't always the most fluid and stealth is diminished, but Origins still delivers an engaging experience with a taut narrative and gorgeous presentation. 15. Horizon Forbidden West Complete Edition. The more is more philosophy to game design, yet done well, depending on who you ask. More allies for Aloy to interact with, a more epic story with more unexpected twists, and more weapons and gear sets to earn. More quests, regions, cities, activities. You get the drift. Yet Horizon Forbidden West also improves on its predecessor's combat while offering deeper skill trees and build crafting. The gorgeous cutscenes and environments are also a nice plus. 14. Dragon Age Inquisition. The best Dragon Age action RPG, warts and all. Development troubles go part and parcel with this franchise, yet BioWare delivered an epic story, likable characters, large regions packed with content, sometimes too much, and so much more. Yes, the combat is decent, not great or as tactical as many hoped, but the positives far outweigh the negatives, and make it that much easier to forget that the Veilguard ever existed. 13. Final Fantasy XVI. Despite its flaws, I have a soft spot for Final Fantasy XVI. Clive Rosfield's quest for vengeance, which quickly blows up into a world-saving affair, is full of epic icon struggles, compelling drama, and some knockdown, drag-out fights with incredible abilities. It may not have been everything that fans wanted in a mainline Final Fantasy, but its combination of combat, storytelling, and characters makes it worth playing, especially for action RPG players. 12. Monster Hunter World. Love it, hate it, begrudgingly accept it. Whatever your stance, it's impossible to ignore Monster Hunter's brilliance, and World is one of the best. It's all so simple, slaying monsters, carving them for materials, crafting better gear and weapons, and slaying tougher monsters. Yet Monster Hunter World makes it also addictive with great combat mechanics spread across numerous weapons that take time to fully master. There's plenty I can praise and flame Monster Hunter World for, but if you're looking to get into the franchise for the first time, it's worth jumping in. 11. Hades 2. While more roguelike, there's no denying the action RPG elements interlaced in Supergiant Games' brilliant sequel. The build crafting, with more options than ever, the building of bonds with its extensive cast, the weapon variety which morphs and changes based on boons, and of course, the fast-paced combat which stands out from the rest. The fact that Hades 2 is this good and still not fully done is slightly scary. In a good way, of course. 10. Pokemon Legends Arceus. Pokemon's first true action RPG with a massive yet not quite fully open world, and it delivered immensely. If the incredible scale and novel amounts of freedom weren't impressive, then the combat where your character could be caught in the crossfire delivered on all fronts. Be it as a creature-collecting adventure, an epic quest, or an enjoyable action RPG experience, Arceus has set a high bar for the franchise, one that Pokemon Legends Z-A can hopefully conquer. 9. The Elder Scrolls V: Skyrim. Looking back on Bethesda's history of video games, it's incredible how much Skyrim stands out. It's an action RPG experience where the combat isn't exactly the highlight, yet the world building, exploration, and sheer attention to detail are awe-inspiring even today. The fact that it invited comparisons for so many years and has seen so many players, in no small part thanks to the modding community, is also remarkable. 8. Mass Effect 2. BioWare went full third-person, cover-based shooter with its highly anticipated sequel, and to no one's surprise, it was amazing. It wasn't just the immaculate mission design and overall storytelling with one of the best RPG casts in gaming that cemented its greatness. Playing as a Vanguard and biotic charging fools into next week, or activating time dilation and wrecking shop as a soldier, among other things, just felt great. 7. Cyberpunk 2077 plus Phantom Liberty. CD Projekt Red's first-person shooter RPG hybrid has gone through tons of changes throughout the years, including a massive expansion with its own incredible narrative. Outside of features like vehicular combat, a proper police system, and more, the combat and build variety has evolved to another level. The visceral nature of combat from melee to shooting has always felt great. Now your skill choices actually matter, resulting in distinct playstyles to wreak havoc on your enemies. 6. Bloodborne. If a hunter must hunt, and Monster Hunter World isn't doing it, From Software has you covered. Yharnam's nightmarish setting, caught between cosmic horror and humanity's hubris, remains endearing, its art direction making the lack of a remaster or remake that much more painful. The delightfully aggressive risk versus reward nature of combat presents a great alternative to Dark Souls, and the bosses are phenomenal. What more could you need? 5. Dark Souls. Souls-likes have come and gone, some marking their own legacy in the genre's endless abyss, but very few can compete with the original Dark Souls. The Kingdom of Lordran and its interconnected nature is as much a thing of awe as areas like Sense Fortress and Blighttown are traumatizing. You don't need me to explain how great the combat is, how well designed many of its bosses are, or why Artorias of the Abyss is one of the greatest DLCs ever made. Even if you return after everything that's happened, great waves of nostalgia will follow. 4. The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. The first time that CD Projekt Red really leaves an impression is when Valen, aka No Man's Land, is revealed for the first time. The sheer scale of the environment opens up to reveal hidden locations, ruins, important characters, conflict, and of course, treasure. The combat evolves in steps and strides as you harness bombs, signs, and new abilities while understanding the nature of different monsters. And of course, the main quest unfolds, drawing you in with each passing reference to Ciri as much as the memorable flawed characters and their incredible performances. Say what you will about other games and their superior combat, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is a triumph. 3. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. To fathom the development mindset of the developer for the second part of the remake trilogy is nearly impossible. At times, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth feels it shouldn't be possible. Massive open-world-esque regions to explore, numerous minigames, side quests, and points of interest, and all of it ties together with the character progression, unlocking new abilities and synergies for combat. The combat itself is better than ever, with old-school fans also having proper turn-based options, and it's just a joy to get lost in everything that Rebirth has to offer, even if the plot can drag. 2. Black Myth Wukong. It should probably be enough for Game Science Action RPG to get by on its incredible aesthetics, soundtrack, and epic plot. However, the combat is also enthralling as you spec into different styles, harness spirits, and unlock powerful transformations. The crafting and upgrade aspects can be somewhat simple, but it's made up for by the sheer quality of action and challenging boss fights. The fact that the protagonist's journey is extensive and full of unique secrets to discover, further aided by the recent addition of maps, makes it all the more enjoyable. Number 1. Elden Ring plus Shadow of the Erdtree. Does From Software's open-world magnum opus have its flaws? Sure. Is it all one of the best action RPGs available, if not the best when you factor in Shadow of the Erdtree? Indubitably. You'll start in classic Souls-like fashion, harnessing specific stats and weapons, but things quickly escalate when factoring in all of the Ashes of War, armor sets, spirit ashes, spells, rings, and much more. It's a smorgasbord of build variety, further aided by a deep world that's fun to get lost in while challenging some of the toughest bosses in gaming. It's a heady mix of rewarding exploration, exhilarating moments,